getting this camera back on here. I'm try to cut this. I gotta find out what's wrong with my computer. I really don't know what's wrong with it here. So anyway, like I said, I haven't encountered, and this is the God's honest truth. I haven't encountered anyone that ratted on the streets. My world was very, very small anyway. You know, the person that ratted on me, I'm not in communication or anything with them. You know what I mean? And it's different when you're dealing with somebody that ratted on you. It's different. But just guys that you don't even associate with, that they ratted the whole 9 yards. No, I don't have any of that. But if I was to ever run into someone that I knew was a rat, and they ratted in another case, I'm not gonna put his business out in the streets, because people associating with him, they gotta know. And if you know, you know, right? And it's different on the outside. You know what I'm saying? Just because that person ratted a whole bit, you're thinking that he's a coward. No, he's not a coward. He's going to do any and everything to protect his reputation. So I don't rotate with anyone now. Would I be cordial if I saw someone that I heard of or knew that he was a rat in prison, and I saw him on the streets? If he saw me, we recognized me, he spoke to me, I'll speak to him. And if there's a conversation to be exchanged, because if we're in a store and he's walking out and I'm coming in, but he acknowledges me, and I may speak and say, "Hey, what's going on, John?" But I let him initiate it. That's how I would do it. And when he initiated it, I feel his energy, and then I'll give him certain energies back, and then I'll move on. But that's just how serious I am, and just how strong I am about not dealing with rats, because I could have ratted and came home much earlier, and then they wanted me to rat on someone that I could have came right home. Didn't do it. I've had people that say that I was stupid. You see what I'm saying? But that's because they don't understand. And I think at a totally different level than a lot of these people today. And see, these guys today, man, all they know is that Meech is fun-loving guy, having a good time the whole 9 yards. But I'm going to tell you this, and this is no slight or no slant on Meech. I'm just going to tell you the truth. It's very hard to believe that Meech did not know that Tammy Cowens was a confidential informant. Even in fact, when she was helping him, and he didn't know. Well, when he thought that he may have gotten a time reduction, but when he found out that Tammy was sleeping, let's say he don't know what Tammy's doing. But the moment Tammy got caught sleeping with the federal informant, a federal agent, that compromised the investigation, right? So now there's no time cut for Meech. But now there's paperwork that Tammy was working in conjunction to getting him free. So he would know that. Now, as far as his name, see, here's the thing, right? If somebody came in and said I ratted on them, and there was some documents and investigation, the whole 9 yards, and let's say that I had something to do with it, the first thing I wouldn't say, it wouldn't be the first thing I'd say is that my name ain't in there. My name is nowhere in there. See, that wouldn't be the first thing that I'd say. The first thing I'd say is, fuck it, I didn't do it. Prove it. Let's prove it. Let me investigate. Let me find out, right? So now you get a lawyer, whatever the situation is, and they get freedom of information, and they get that case number. When you get that case number, all right, and we look through it, or whatever the situation may be, keep in mind your name is not in it, but Cuffy is going to definitely know the mechanics of those conversations. He's going to know how those conversations went, who said what said who, and the time frame. So that's why they call it a third party deal. But the only way they can give you a third party deal is this. See, had Cuffy not played out and Philippe had not played out, your name would have been in the paperwork. It would have been redacted. Because now you would have had to go to court to testify. They're giving you credit for it. Your name would have come up and it would have surfaced. But by them playing out the whole 9 yards, your name didn't go in that paperwork. You see? But people say, well, he got out early. And who knows what the reasons are. They may have gotten out on a hardship, whatever the situation is. But he did not get credit. He did not get credit. And I'm going to tell this in his favor. He did not get credit for ratting. I had a co-defendant many years ago in my case. He tried working and operating and getting a deal. But then he lied so much the whole 9 yards. He was trying to set people up and he didn't even get a deal. He didn't get the deal. Right? So he ended up serving his 25 years. That was on another case though. And see what happened, Meech didn't get out on that case, but with all these different laws and different new laws changing in the whole 9 yards, that's what got him out early. That's what got him out early. So, because you can't get out on a clemency, a commuted sentence or anything like that if you cooperated. Because if you cooperated, that's your time cut. If you cooperated, that is your time. Now, if a law changes or whatever the situation is, you can benefit from that. But if you ratted, you can't get clemency. You can't send a pardon to the president because you've already cooperated with the government the whole 9 yards. That's almost like 2 slices at the pie. You feel me? But you know, and for those who say that, Tony, man, you might just be hating on Meech, man, because, no, I'm not. I'm just telling it like it is. Meech has the world as his oyster. With social media the way it is, and with his name all over music, you know, I feel like Big Meech, Larry Hoover, he is a folklore hero. Don't get me wrong. I wish that I would have had the love and support that he has. For my not telling and the whole bit, I had some folk that was going to look out for me when I came home. But as it would have it, man, may they rest in peace, they died from COVID. I'm not going to say how much, but I would have been straight. You see? But I didn't associate with a whole lot of people. We didn't have social media. I wasn't a person that had a whole bunch of people around me. And I talk about this all the time, and I say this is one thing that I admired about Meech. It's not who I was, but I admired that he was able to do that for himself and surround himself with all these people that looked out for him or was willing to look out for him and kept his name out there while he was down. See, my world was small, man. And most of the people that was in the business that I was in, that could afford the type of money that I was used to, many of them are dead and gone, or either they're incarcerated, or many of them has gone broke, man. They living on pensions just like I'm living. You see? So we are of different eras, and I admire that at the same time. But I think that at some point, man, when somebody's helped your family while you're down, I wouldn't turn my back on them. You know, and I would have, you know, 50, maybe 50's getting what he deserved for the things that he's done, true. But at the same time, on that particular situation right there, he did something real good for that family. And I think that if Meech is the chess player of life, as he claimed to be, he could have still got 50's respect by letting him know. I mean, he could have still got Rick Ross respect by letting him know, hey, look, 50 did that for my company, for my country. I mean, for my mom, man, my brother, my son. I don't want it to look like, man, I'm shitting on him, man, you know, kicking it with you. I hope you can understand that, Rick. I wouldn't do it to you if the shoe was on the other foot, right? But now, you know, if you still want to look out for me, that's fine. But my thing is this, though. You're doing this for Meech. Why you didn't do this for Ricky Ross when he came home? And I just think that it's a serious, it's a situation where Rick Ross saw a gap in there, man, where he could put ointment in a wound, you know, and I think that, you know, that, you know, Rick Ross, Meech was a kid of the hip hop era, and he was a man of the hip hop era, and he was someone that you probably wasn't hanging out with before he got locked up, and then you mentioned his name because he was a boss, he was a baller, but you didn't know Rick Ross was a little older, so he was beyond your era, and I guess you felt like, you know, he wasn't gonna want to be a groupie, if you will, a fan, but you use his name. You got rich off of wearing his name, Ricky Ross, Rick Ross, Ricky Rose. Your name not even Ricky. And I think that if you're going to pay homage and respect to anyone, he should have been the one. Big Meech had nothing to do with your success. And I know you probably say, well, Rick Ross didn't either. Then why you name yourself Rick Ross? Just for the rights of his name, man, or using his name, man, even if you had to give him 100,000, or whatever the situation may be, you know? You know, I think that in this business that's going around, man, you don't make enemies, you don't make waves. And I know a lot of guys are gonna come on and they're gonna probably say, Tom, man, you know, in my mind before speaking on this, I kind of thought everything out, man. I had a way that I wanted to present it the whole bit, but because I went through a situation with my neighbor and you know, her crisis, and then, you know, my camera's going off and on, I got a bit distracted. But the point I'm making is this, though. We need to continue to honor the word loyalty. Loyalty doesn't have to be demonstrated. It doesn't have to be demonstrative. It doesn't have to be broad and big. It can be real, real simple. You know? It can be real simple. It don't have to be major. And just show a debt of gratitude. People say he don't owe Rick Ross nothing. He don't owe 50 cents nothing. If nothing else, just courtesy. Just respect. You wouldn't want a person that you claim is your enemy. You would want someone else you're dealing with and doing business with to be associated and affiliated with them. I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna go. And some of the people who know me and know my history, they know this is true, and I'm telling you. Look, there are two guys that I grew up with, right? In New Orleans. All of us went to high school together. No, we went to elementary, kindergarten, elementary, junior high, senior high. All of us went to school together. We used to play together, hang out together, take naps together, right? So as we grew up, I moved away to Texas. These guys were beefing against one another. Just a second. Good morning, G. Hello? Hello, hello. Hello.
What up, D?
Hey, what's up, brother?
All
What's
right,
going on?
brother. What you got going?
Oh man, I'm about to wrap up this podcast.
Okay,
Yeah,
then. Okay.
I'm
Go
hit.
wrap that up then.
I'm
Hey,
hit.
so, let
I'm
me
gonna
chop
hit
in
you.
later.
I'm gonna hit you right back. All
Okay,
right.
take care of your business.
All
Okay.
right. Bye bye. So sorry about that. So I grew up with these guys, and I moved to Texas, and we all ended up doing our thing. So all of us ended up in that business, if you will, right? Well, uh, so for whatever reason, these two guys started beefing. I know the reason. I don't care to get into it. But anyway, the both of them started beefing with one another. So there were attacks on both sides. There were people there were people that were there were casualties on both sides, put it that way, caused by the other. And it was back and forth, one for one, eye for eye, right? And they were waiting to get one another. And this wasn't a game, guys. These guys were after each other's necks. They was after it, and they were getting it. So now, uh, as time went on, both of these guys became very, very, very big. So after I got in the game, I was having so much material, so much product. I tried reaching out to the first one that I could get in touch with, the first one that I thought about. I tried getting in touch with them. So I did, but not really. I was trying to see them the whole nine, and when I would go to areas that I know they'd be, his guys would stop me and check me and tell me he was in a club one night, and I was trying to get upstairs to see him, and his security just wouldn't let me get up there. And I told him to send him a message the whole bit, and they were looking at me like, they were young guys the whole bit under him, but they didn't give him the message. So I said, fuck it. My thing is, I'm looking gonna kiss ass. But it wasn't him doing this. It was his people. So now, I didn't like the way that had gone, and I felt a certain kind of way. So, somebody put me in touch with the other guy. I didn't ask for that, but they put me in touch with him. And when they put me in touch with him, he and I, we worked and we made millions together, right? We made millions. So now the other guy, he's heard about it or whatever. I don't know how, because I never told him. And I know my guy didn't tell him per se because they were beefing. So he reached out to me. I didn't respond. So one day upon my visit, I was talking to my other guy, the one that I decided to do business with. And while we were in the car, he said, "Hey, I heard what's his name reaching out to you, huh?" And it shocked me. I said, "Come again?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "I heard what's his name trying to get at you, man. He want to do business with you." I didn't know how to answer that. So I said, "Man, I ain't trying to." He said, "Look." He said, "Stop." He said, "Tone, check this out." He said, "Say, bro." He said, the man trying to do business with you, man. I tell you this." He said, "Man, as long as you do business right with him, man, you're going to get paid because that joker going to take care of his business. Your money going to always be right." He said, "You'll never have problems." He said, only two ways you'll have problems with him." And I said, "What's that?" He said, "With his money, if you fuck over his money or fuck with his women." And I was shocked. He said, "Man, if I was you, I'd go ahead on and do it, man." He said, "Shit, you can make a lot of money." Now this is what a guy is telling me about his enemy, his adversary, what they call ops. See, I saw a guy say when he had ops, he put opponent, But see, ops is opposition. All right, you can say it's the same thing, but it's used for opposition, right? So anyway, this guy told me this about his opposition. He said, "Man, do business with it, man. Get your money." But this is what he ended it though. He said, "Check this out." He said, "But I want you to be mindful though." He said, "If I catch him, he's out of there." He said, "So be careful what you give him." He said, "But if I catch him, he's out of there." And then he turned around and said the same thing to me. He said, "I don't know if you thought about it or not." He said, "But shit, if he catch me, I'm out of there too." You know what I'm saying? So he said, "Man, go ahead and get your money." Now, if that's not respect for one another, I know you said, "Man, that's some crazy shit." But think of the world that we was living in. It was a crazy world. It was a bizarre world. And these are guys that are out to get each other. And they had that kind of mutual respect for one another. Right? And the other guy had the same amount of respect for him as well. But they wasn't playing on what they was trying to do to one another. So now, with that said, right, I was placed in Big Meech's situation where the guy told me to go ahead. He didn't, it wasn't like I'm trying to choose sides or whatever. He told me, do business with that guy. I won't be mad at you. And you know what he never asked me? He never asked me, where you going to meet him at, man? Why don't you set him up? I've had somebody to do that with me, and I told him, man, somebody was getting ready to rat on him on the streets, but getting ready to call the authorities when he was going down the highway. That's another story. This guy was getting ready to rat on. He called me and told me that this guy had ripped him off. The guy didn't rip him off. The guy owed him some money, and the guy was trying to raise the money to pay him. So he came to score from somebody else, not me. And he was really trying to make this money up so he can pay this guy. Well, this guy couldn't get him, and he was really kind of scared of him. So he was going to call the people. I promised to God. When the guy told me he was going to call the people and rat, I told him to his face. Well, on the phone, I said, "Man, you do that." I said, "Dog, I'm going to tell him." I said, "Man, tell me you're not going to do that, man. Tell me you're bullshit." He said, "No, I'm serious, Tom." I said, "Dog, me and you in the same business, man." I said, "You be doing the same fucking thing to me?" I said, "Brother, I can't let you do that, man." I said, "I'm going to tell the man, bro." And I mean, this dude had a little agreement from him dealing with this dude behind my back. I just walked away from it. But when he called me to tell me now that he's getting ready to rat on this guy, I told the guy, this guy's going to rat on you. Right? The bottom line is, when we hung up the phone, he was hell bent on he was going to rat. So I called dude and said, "Hey, look, you're driving this, you're driving that, you came to get this, and you're going to be headed back up in this direction." So he said, "Man, what are you saying?" "I'm telling you that your security and your route has been compromised. Somebody in your circle is telling your business. So I'm passing this on to you, bro." He said, "Are you serious?" I said, "Yeah, dude is getting ready to rat on you, man. So change your route, or change your cars." He said, "All right, Tom, I'm going to call you back." So he went and took care of whatever he took care of. He called me back a couple of hours later. He said, "Tom," he said, "Man, look, do me a favor." I said, "What's that?" He said, "Man, call dude, man, and have him meet you someplace, man." I said, "Why would I do that?" He said, "Man, because he believe in you, man. He trusts you. I said, "Man, I'm not going to do that, bro." I said, "Man, I already told you. I gave you what you needed to know. You handle that how you need to handle it. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not going to call him and tell him, what you're planning, but I'm not gonna be a part of it." So he said, all right, I can respect that." So he hung up. Later on that night, he caught him, did what he did, but he ended up living. So he was in the hospital fucked up, right? So then later on, the guy called me from the hospital, all groggy, about 2 o'clock in the morning. And he said, "Tone, I can't believe you did that to me, man. Man, you ratted and told him. I said, dude, I told you not to do that, and I told you I was going to tell him. So he was like, well, that's all right, man. That's all right. I'm going to see. I said, dog, you already having problems. You want trouble too? So he hung up the phone on me. You know what I'm saying? But you see, I keep it a buck. That's how I act, and that's how I respond in that business that I was in. I don't harbor no rats. I don't embrace no rats. But I respect a man, and I'm going to give him his respect until he earned my disrespect. And when that man said he was getting ready to rat, even though me and this guy had words, but when he told me that he was going to rat on that guy, couldn't let him do it. Because I would wish that someone would give me a heads up that way. And with the other guys, I've even went back and told that guy how that guy praised him and said that, man, you're about your business. He said, man, yeah. He said, man, shit, I respect him too. He said, man, I got nothing but respect for him, man. But he said, but if I see him, I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him, Tom. I said, I believe that, bro. I believe that. And guess what he never did? He never asked me like the other guy did in a totally different situation. He never asked me, to line him up. I never do it. See that book that was written by Terry, whatever her last name is, out of Philly? Terry Woods. I'm true to the game, y'all. I'm true to the game, and that's something that many of us today aren't. And that they said, this game today is no place for old men. It's no place for old men, guys. So, anyway, I hope you enjoyed my story. I hope I made some sense of it. We're going to see how this is going to go. It's going to get ugly because they're playing penitentiary games out on the streets. Nobody on the streets gives a shit about somebody that's ratted, that's hot. You know what I mean? If it turns out that Meech was a rat, so what? He's a rat. All the people that know him, loved him, and surround him, they still gonna love him. They don't give a shit. You know what I mean? It's only if he ever goes back to prison that he's gonna have to do time and SEG. Right? Well, that's unfortunate. But let's hope he'll never have to go back. So you guys enjoy your Thursday, Throwback Thursday. And thank you for coming on board. Thank you guys for joining me. I apologize for all the breaks and everything that we had in this segment. But thank you guys for coming on. All right? Peace.